Did we have any homework?
You'd already done it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, good, perfect. Well, I saw that on here and I was like, I feel like I've already done that. Okay, good. All right, okay. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I saw that in there,
Yeah, I saw
but
that, but I didn't send any communication. After
Yeah,
that.
I didn't-
And then,
yeah.
because we postponed it before.
Okay.
So it'll be next.
after this meeting.
It'll be
Yeah.
in July.
okay, this is great.
You have 4 minutes.
No, yeah,
Okay.
you guys can care.
It was recording me and I was on the phone.
Oh,
Great. Okay, so the time is 5:02. We'll call the meeting to order, starting with roll call.
Brady Carson, present.
Shonda Foreman Mill, present.
Emily Cunningham, present.
First Nation present.
Oh.
Okay, any public comment? All right, and celebrations and recognition.
We are postponing any
Okay.
for now.
Great. So we have the consent agenda items. Anybody have any questions on any one of those? We could pull it out.
Just to clarify, there were no expense requests. It was on there, but there weren't.
Or I'll entertain a motion if not. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And then the parent representative is not here, but our faculty representative is. So do you have anything to report?
Yes. Mine only take about 45 minutes today. No. I usually limit it. Tonight, the sky's the limit.
Oh, okay, all right, good, I like it.
First of all, a couple of things, and then I'll say thank you to y'all in a minute. But we have still been working on the gym wall, the history wall, and we've had a couple of, I don't know if you want to call it setbacks, snags. The cost that we got for the entire wall is very prohibitive. It's $28,000 for the vinyl from end to end. Now, because that's 98 feet, 5 inches by 10 feet, that is a sizable space. So we are looking at different options to address it. We can print vinyl here in our facilities and attempt to install it. The size is going to be limited in the scope, so we have already decided to sort of shorten it down and make space between it. We've talked about dividing the different core areas up with core value stripes that go between them. So it'll be panel stripe. We've talked about running it 4 feet. I think you said, Dr. Newman, the machine can print 8 by 4.
4 by 8 if you do a panel.
4 by 8. And so we could technically go all the way down the wall in 4 by 8 panels and you link them together and have 3 feet on top, 3 feet on bottom, separated. There's a lot of options we're looking into. Coach Foreman is gone, so I'm trying to coordinate with Coach Foreman as well. And we've gone through 2 companies now, and the price has been fairly similar. We got a bid just to do the area right in front of the door, which would be the first part, which would be sort of like the athletics portion of the wall as you walk in. That wall by itself is going to be roughly $4,400 to do it fine. Just that 18.75 by 10-foot section. If we get an outside company to do it. We've looked at other options like poster size or large posters that we print and then put plexiglass over them so they're easy to remove and change. We've thought about a lot of options, but we just got this estimate at the end of last week. So we are not at going back to plan 0, but we're just having to adapt and change to see if we can get it within a reasonable price range, because we just don't think $28,000. I personally don't think that's a reasonable price. Yeah, we've turned down other things like art, like a mural on the back wall of the gym, because of the cost. I just don't think it makes sense to pay that much when we can look for other alternatives or build it in segments. I think the primary thing, honestly, to get in place first would be that thing, whatever the panel is as you walk in. And even if we can only get the stripes of the core values up and then come back and put the history wall in, I think that's a lot smarter than it would be if we tried to rush through something and mess it up. The history wall, I shared you that Canva thing in today. Do you have it? I just want to show you some of the progress we made. It may not look a lot different. I just shared it with you. That's it. It doesn't look a lot different, but we have got some images, selections down, and I met with SJ Menifee too, and she had a lot of really good ideas, and we're going to pull in some maybe resources. If you scroll down, Dr. Newman, to the pages themselves, just keep going. We just keep going when the actual pages start, and we have right there. That's what the East Waco and Elm Avenue page looks like right now. That's the old firehouse. It was the first firehouse that was built on this side of the deal. And then behind it, we changed all the pictures out, or some of them, they all are like businesses or places of interest. One is Kesker's, which was built in 1914 and closed in 2002. That's all back there too. And within the history, it's going to say that as well. But this is sort of what we're looking at. Really clean.
Yeah.
One standout graph. Please scroll down, Dr. Newman, please. So that would be this is for East West. That's another one for East Elm. We kind of liked. It shows the bridge, the suspension bridge, which sort of joined the sides. We're trying to clean up the little steel pipes coming out of the bridge at top. We're struggling there. If you go to the next one, History Parkland College, you saw that one already. That's the rise of Rapoport Academy. That's Dr. Grayson, and that's actually her when she was actually working on pulling bricks out. It wasn't from this building. It was Math and Science building that she's actually working on the building. So, and then the pictures behind it are grayscale. Now then, on the next one, if you'll go down one more, this is the one we're struggling with the most, the Rapoport Now, what to put on it and how to do it. So SJ is designing a design that we're going to put on it. It'll be a raven. And within that raven, we're going to put 50 or 60 photographs that build it up, and then the writing beside it. That's what we're looking at overall right now. You don't have to show anymore. We had some stripes that SJ and I worked on. She didn't send them to me, and we can change anything. We also are going to add a timeline. I know that was requested, and so a timeline is going to be built into each of the panels. So at the top, and really this is probably affords a better way to run a timeline anyway. And we're working on putting that timeline in now. So we made progress. All the writing is done. All we're waiting on is how are we going to make it that is feasible to do. So we've had kids that have been up here 4 or 5 times this summer working. I've been with them. We made a lot of progress. It just kind of set us back when we got that estimate for the money. And because, when you're talking about, it's going to be relatively inexpensive. Well, that's not inexpensive to us. And the way other schools do it is because they roll it into their bond packages. And so it's covered. It's part of the overall expense. We don't have that luxury to roll that into our bond packages. We don't have bond packages. And so that's the way they can get away with doing some of that stuff, that more exorbitant stuff that to us, we have to find the money. So that's where that's at as of now. But we are making progress. I wanted you to be aware of where we're going, and I'm going to stay with that. I'm also going to stay with the TIA, the Teacher Incentive Committee, and work with our new school board rep, who's riding feverishly back there. Our new school board rep, our school rep, and what we're going to keep on that. We'll meet again, see where we're at. A couple of other things, and then I'm done. On the gym, and this may be a question you can answer. You might be giving it later in a gym update, but I won't be here to answer questions. But on the gym, I noticed that there's been water that's sort of stagnant there by the front door. I'm sure they'll take care of that drainage issue.
Yes, it's only there because they don't have the bricks in yet.
Okay. And will those bricks be, and I'm talking from a disabled person's perspective now. Will those bricks be, you know, when you bring in wheelchairs and walkers across that, will they be level enough that that shouldn't be a problem?
Yes, that is what they are installing.
Okay.
Yeah, they will be level and sealed and sanded. So
Oh, okay.
it'll be like any other.
Yeah, they're gonna be
building
sealed flat. Okay, good. And then the other question I had, and this is something you might want to think about. There are 2 handicap spots that are there currently in front.
2 on the front and 3 on the side.
There are gonna be 3 on that backside? Okay.
On the side. The backside is road on the side.
Yeah, by the varsity thing. Okay, that's better. Because I was thinking, if we want to use the gym for community center, you're gonna have a lot of grandmothers and grandfathers and people like me, and you're gonna need more than 2. Are they gonna make a ramp there? Because right now they have it curved.
There's ramps and accessibility on both ways have an accessible place in the building. Yes.
Oh, yeah, they have a
On the
ramp
very
down,
side.
but you know where that is? That comes down, that little ramp comes down? There by that
In the
door
front or on the side?
on the side.
There, you could turn to the right.
There is a place to
There
get down
is a
there?
ramp, it won't pass ADA, the ADA inspection without having handicap accessible. But
Okay,
there is handicap on the drawing. that's
Okay.
handicap.
all right, that sounds good. That is.
I can double check it just to make sure.
Yeah, well, you know,
We've already had our ADA inspection.
there's a little ramp back there, you know what I'm talking about on that side. And it comes straight out. Do you think there's a possibility for them to cut away the curb that they put right there and make an entry? Because that would be really easy. Because once you go up that ramp, all you do is turn left and you're in the gym.
You're in the non-accessible door. Like that's not open to anybody. That's an emergency exit only.
Oh, okay, so it can't be open.
It can, but it would have to be propped open or it'd have to be supervised. If
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't have.
Okay,
to
because
be-
that's the easiest way for a handicapped person to get that little ramp up.
But we could always have someone stand at that door.
Well,
It's
just
not
think,
secure.
just think about it, because I was just looking at it from my perspective and saying, hey, this would be the easiest egress and ingress. The only other things that I want to bring up is sort of a closing here. Thank you. It's been a great 2 years. I've learned a lot. Patience, no, I'm joking. But I have learned a lot from my experience. And I think what I'm happiest with is I think I've seen this board grow a lot. Questioning more, pushing more, asking questions, sort of, and that makes me very happy. And I just want to tell you guys, please keep going. Please keep pushing. Because we're a pretty good school. I don't want to be pretty good. I want to be the best. I want to be better than what we were the day before and better than what we were the month before. And while I know sometimes we had disagreements on issues, I was glad of the conversations we could have, and I think everyone is acting in the best of the school. That being said, 2 thoughts, and then I'm done. One is I would really like to see, with the funding that the state is providing, the new funding, if we could work on 3 things, and that is maybe trying to look at possible small raises for hourly employees, maybe. I don't know if that's in the budget or not, but I do know they are sending funds, I think, if I read it correctly, specifically for that. Also, and this is problematic, it could be more something long-term, but we have lost out in the past on really, really good candidates, especially for middle-level administrative jobs, because of our salaries. When they're coming from other schools and they have some expertise that might help us, and we can't, our salary base turns them away because they're like, I'm a regular teacher now, or I work in this position and I make more than I do now. I'm just asking the board that if there's a possibility that you look at maybe with the excellence that we want from the school in mind, trying to look at some way to maybe look at that middle level salary, mid-level, especially now, because if a teacher, for instance, if a teacher was part of the TIA grant, and then with the increased salary the state is providing, which is a sizable amount, for me, it's going to be $8,000 a year on top of whatever TIA money I may or may not get. When you put that together, I would take a sizable pay cut to go into an administrative role. And I see that as kind of sort of an issue.
Mhm.
I don't think we can ever match it, but I think it's an issue. Because at some point, it's great to promote from within, but it's also good to have fresh ideas and things from outside come in. And we limit ourselves because of that. And I think that's,
That was only two. You said three.
I know, but I can't read my third one. It starts with an S. I'll stop there, but thank you. So
Yeah.
it's been it's been good. It's been really good. I appreciate it.
Well, you've helped us become better.
Yeah,
Holding our feet to the
absolutely.
fire
Yep.
and being so consistent and candid. And
Mhm.
thank you so much on behalf of the board.
Well, you got another good one coming up.
I should know this, but for teachers with experience outside the district on that salary pay scale, do they enter it if they have 5 years teaching experience?
At that
they enter it? Okay. And then for the history wall, am I correct to understand the next step is finding a vendor?
Well, we may not even use a vendor. There's a possibility we'll try to produce it in-house if we can find the materials that are right and we know that we can install it
Got it.
for sure.
Corey, when Chris and I talked last week, I reached out immediately to Corey Dickman over at Triple Win and just said, hey, this is what we got back. What are our options? Because they wrap trucks and do all sorts of stuff like that. I'm like, what are our options for that? And so, matter of fact, I just checked in with him while he was talking just to see if he had any. He was going to look at costs for the vinyl. It's not a question of, can we print it? Like, we have the printers over there to print it. It's not a question of, can we laser it into plexi or poly? The question is just how much is the material? And then to test it out and see. So get a smaller section, put it up, see what it looks like, see if we like it. If we like it, great, then keep going. If we don't, peel it off and start
Yeah,
something again.
because it's not a flat wall. It's got these, and it's gonna have to like, the
Yeah.
thicker vinyl will sort of adhere into the spaces.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Or it'll float over them,
Or it'll float over
one or
them.
the other.
And
The same
we've just never, I mean, we don't have the experience doing that, so we'd have to test.
Yeah.
A little bit before we said, let's write it all off
Yeah.
and slap that
Yeah.
thing up there. That would not be very.
So he's supposed to get some samples and get different thicknesses and different materials, but I mean, they've used the printers for all sorts of stuff. They can take photos and etch them into glass or poly or wood or anything like that. So there's all sorts of options.
Yeah, so really, Dr. Cunningham, we're looking at we're trying to find a more economical way to produce the quality that we want it produced.
Thank you for doing that.
Factored into, Triple Wins apprenticeship, like part of the students, maybe that's their mastery rate for the first quarter. Or,
So it can be, so
That
it
makes
depends on, we allow our students to pick their practicums.
okay,
And so it depends on if any student were to pick and to have a personal drive for that, I would imagine we would. The only thing with that is they get a full semester or a full year to work on and complete and plan their practicum. And so that would be a November install. And I think we were hoping
gotcha.
sooner than November install if possible. Now, there might be some students in the summer that would want to just pick it up to build their resume. But it wouldn't be a part of a course. But yes, ideally, it would be done through students and the staff at Triple Win with the students who are already working on it right now. And I'm guessing, based on the students that have already kind of jumped in and worked on it, they would want to get their hands dirty on that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the same students they're helping design would want to jump in and are already helping do stuff with summer camps. and all sorts of
Okay,
Quick question. Could we also maybe collaborate with some of the other institutions? Maybe they could offer, TFCC could offer, Baylor could offer.
Yeah.
Some assistance if y'all need something
To help.
to help or whatever. Violence,
Help in one way or
whatever,
another.
right.
Yeah.
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 I'm thinking more material.
Oh, well, and I think let's see kind of what our options are.
And every, like the machines themselves, every machine, you know, I've done a lot of research on this, too much. But every machine runs a different type of vinyl through it and a thickness of vinyl that it can. And they were gonna print one entire roll, 98 feet by 10 feet. We don't have the we don't have the we can't do that. Our
Right.
machine is limited to a certain size, right?
Right.
So,
Not length, but width.
Width,
Yeah,
right.
52 inches.
yeah. So our deal is gonna have to be depending on the cost of the material.
But when Chris and I were talking, like we talked about, it's not necessarily the end of the world to have a 50-inch stripe with all of the images and logos
Yeah,
and
look
all
good.
of that.
We can make it look good.
Because then you get it up off the floor, so now we're not running into it with like, floor cleaning
Right.
equipment, right? And nobody's gonna really be looking at it 10 feet up
You
anyway,
can't
so
really
you
see
can
it.
put it at eye
Yeah.
level. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't impact the aesthetics of it, but we might actually be able to get it done.
Well, and
Maybe.
nobody except the people that knew the original plan would know any difference. That's the thing.
Except the athletic square, that 18-foot, 10-foot,
It
that
needs to be
really,
full.
because you're gonna walk in and be able to see
Yeah,
floor to
it
ceiling.
needs to be full.
It's not that
Yeah.
We'll move on to board committee reports. The finance committee did not meet in June. District improvement
We did not move.
and facilities.
We didn't.
You did. We've got a lot of good stuff. Do you want to take lead or?
Oh, no, yeah, you guys can. We had our first new meeting with Chad. Ms. Rumsey joined in on the meeting, and then I jumped in and we kind of reestablished like note-taking systems and just kind of did a brain dump of everything that they had been working on so that I could get brought up to speed and the things that are coming up. And really just made a list of like, what are all the things the facilities committee wants to look at? And it was everything from planning of facilities to the facilities upgrades to the things happening with the gym to additional buildings, right? And like roof coverages. And I mean, like it was a long list of all sorts of things, just to really kind of start prepping in for kind of new staff walking forward. So I'll be at one more meeting and then Chad will switch over to be their main staff person from that. But there may be some specific things you want to call out. Most of it was fine.
Well, so we have the agenda and the drives that you can look through and see all the notes, just to save time for today. But a couple of things we do want to highlight is the break campaign. We're going to keep pushing that. Work with SJ on the social media, the notices and stuff, because that's a really good project. And just to make sure that the community knows, hey, you still have the opportunity to come in and purchase a break and support the district, that'd be great. And if you have outlets, businesses, people that you know that you can share information with, that'd be helpful as well from a board's perspective. Next is, there is a call coming up, Dr. Newman, with the mayor's office for support and how they could look into the TIF. I did send over your application
I
information.
saw that email. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up call coming to let you know when the day and time is.
You haven't heard back from him yet?
Not yet. I've been swamped at work.
Yep.
I'm assuming that call, I can bring you in,
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna have questions I can't. answer.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm hoping that their focus can align with yours. It was about the public facing areas.
Yep.
I believe.
Yep.
So,
That's why we did. So just to give everybody else updates. So the original TIF request we had in, so technically all of the project is TIF eligible because it's a public school. So technically all of it's eligible. We knew there wasn't any way we were going to get with that. So Eddie Mazonik worked with me through the budget and we identified basically anything that was exterior to the building. And that was the first request. It was roughly 1.5 million for that one. We didn't even get a meeting with that. So it was about 6 weeks of kind of non-responsive. And then finally I accidentally got someone to answer. And he said, we have already exhausted the amount of TIF funds that the city is going to be willing to spend on non-revenue generating community service projects through the STEAM Center and the Doris Miller Center. And so of course I was like, but that was part of the whole thing, right? Like we understood that we had, city support moving through this, which again, the board moved forward on expecting no support. So it's not going to cause problems on the project. But at the same time, we had really anticipated having some support on that. And so the initial talk we got back was, okay, hey, revamp your request and just do like public improvement, like infrastructure, parking lot, ADA sidewalks, stormwater. And so we redid that and it came up to about 750,000. That's just public improvement, has nothing to do with the actual building itself, just the public improvement side of things. And so resubmitted that, hadn't gotten any response. And then she just said, how about I make a couple of phone calls? And I said, that would be amazing. So she made a couple of phone calls and then forwarded them the updated TIF as well, just to see if we can get any sort of movement or support to help with the project. And so the hope is that that would offset some of the debt or some of the owner supplied items that we've had to spend that has really drawn down our fund balance, that would offset some of the expenses we've already had to put on.
Do you know, Dr. Newman, I know that within that House bills, part of it was increased
Charter school facilities funding.
facilities funding. Do you know how that will impact? You probably have no idea how that would make.
So we haven't gotten the final impacts from legislative. We've gotten the anticipated ones. And so there's two different ones, Mo Casey and the Legislative Budget Board. So there's two different groups that have run. One of them, the grand total of, including like the 4,000, 8,000, all that sort of stuff, was around $700,000 that we would be to the good as a district, not just facilities, like
Yeah, total.
which when you think about it, that does not go very far to providing raises when you've got 170
Yeah.
employees, right? But one of them is that. The other one is a little closer to 1.4 million. There's, yeah, I'd like that. So significant discrepancies between those two. And so a lot of it has to do with making, and what TEA decides are the actual definitions of qualified people or qualified positions or qualified work. On the facility side of it, it looks like we'll be somewhere between $100,000 to $200,000 added facilities money. Now that's restricted money. It can't go to anything else, and there's very restricted things that it can, but it might be able to offset debt service.
That's what I was going to ask, if
Yeah.
it could be offset. If you could
Which
use it to offset that.
The hope is that we would offset debt service, and then that money doesn't go to provide towards these other things, because, well, it's part of my update anyway, but I'll kind of say it already, is the legislative funding that's coming through for salaries for teachers is for teachers. No TAs, no hourly, no anybody else. And then the allocation that's coming in for support staff is no administrators, but it does cover all of the other kind of support folks. And the total right now is expected to be about $45,000 total for the district. And there'd be about 70 people that would need money from that $45,000. And then the teacher money is allocated kind of directly, like they're running a formula that says, oh, here's how many three-year teachers you have, 4-year, 5-year, 5 and plus. And so they're going to allocate directly based on what we've submitted for our years of service for the teachers. So that's a kind of a direct flow through for the teachers. But the other is about $45,000 for book raises. And so everything we can do to offset, to allow for us to be able to make adjustments for salaries is what we as a board, you as a board, need to really think about. Is if we get $130,000 for facilities, yes, that helps offset what we're going to pay for debt service. It's already in the budget. But then what do we do with that $130,000? Some of it does need to go into fund balance, because we've used a lot of fund balance kind of finishing up on the gym. But we definitely have to recognize that almost all of the salaries we do, aside from teachers, are going to come from any added revenue or offset funds from them. So anyway.
Lastly, I believe I sent you the mock-up of the dedication plaque. You mentioned awards somebody as possible vendor.
Yep.
And the draft is in the drive that you can look at if you have thoughts of what you'd like to see on there. Obviously, we're working with only so much space for the plaque, and usually I don't think that they cost an exorbitant amount of money.
Usually $1,000 less.
Surely maybe facilities can be mounted on the gym. And we could probably take some of the funding from brick fundraiser or something.
And the thought is right inside the second door. Inside the first door is trophy cases. Inside the second door to the left side is a big clean wall. And that's where the kind of recognition plaque would be. But if you can't find it in your drive, just shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
And I told you, I'll be glad to help the process.
Other than that, I was just hired and then looking at the facility notes. can't, so you're our own thing there.
And my goal with the committees, we started it with facilities. I did a little bit with the improvement, the district improvement one, and then we're coming on board with it with the finance one. Is in your board drive, there's a committees folder, and each committee will ultimately have a folder within that. So if you, as just a board member, want to go say, hey, what are they doing on that one? Or hey, what is that? Or you can't comment in that because obviously that would violate open meetings, but you can go look at the notes at the agendas, and then you can call one of the members on that committee and have a conversation with them, or shoot them an email or a question if you want to do that. But that way, if you have a question or are curious about something, all of you can actually see ultimately what is happening in the committees. If you want to dig in a little bit more, or if you have a specific pet project or pet question that you want to know more about, you'd be able to click in to their notes, to their agendas, and see what they're doing.
Where are those located?
So in the board drive, I don't know there. So in the board drive, in the main, in the committees. So
Facilities.
just start with facilities.
I don't see anything.
It should be,
I don't
okay,
see anything yet.
okay, I'll make sure it's in there.
Okay.
I think it was actually in our invite, but there'll be a running list. And then you should have the untitled document. Would you go back to that?
1025.
No, that's not it. Okay. So I will make sure that. Oh, it's important.
And I didn't see that plaque thing.
The draft, okay, I'll make sure it's in it.
Okay.
I will email you all that plaque draft, just so you don't have to go digging for it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in there. If you're on the main, there's the board of directors folder,
uh-huh.
and you sort it by alpha or numeric and alpha. Under 2025, the board committees folder is in that drive. In that subdirectory.
Board of Directors.
And I'll go, well, let me just, because we're moving, let me just go and make sure. So if you guys check it at 9 o'clock tonight, I will make sure that in that folder, it looks like you guys have all been able to find this folder. In that folder will be the draft and plaque and the notes from the facilities meetings, just so you can see kind of what that's gonna look like. Again, not everybody's doing that, and I don't expect them all to be on it right now, but that's the direction I want to move, is that kind of running agenda.
That's one little suggestion or recommendation for all the board members. The district leadership uses the Rapoport Academy school email addresses when they take the board members. So if ever they're sending information and like, I didn't get it, it's not going to come to their person. Please make it a habit for district assigned board meeting Gmail account that they say.
And Chris can actually help you set up forwarding. So Chris Brown, so he can actually help you set up forwarding or on your own phone or something if you want to. The thought behind that is when you roll out of your position, the next member that comes on, we'd like them to be able to have that history of your position to come from that. It also helps you keep your independent personal things away from open records.
Can you remember the email to the
I can, but you'll need to respond back through the board one. Yeah. Will you get with her?
Dr. Cunningham, I remember the other item. Can I go back?
Yes, please.
Do you mind? I'm
Not at
sorry.
all.
No. Remember number 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought, what is that? Actually, this was for you, Grady. About 3 board member meetings ago, you mentioned that you had heard that there was an issue with phone usage. The outgoing DNS students, the new DNS students, and myself met about 3 weeks ago, and we're working on formulating a stricter phone policy here, which will be a universal phone policy, not a teacher by teacher phone policy, but a universal phone policy, in the hopes to alleviate some of those issues, particularly because it's not just like a disruption in class anymore. The phones is a safety issue now with kids. That's where a lot of the drama gets started. And then the second thing we're working on is revamping the tardy policy a little bit to give it a little bit more emphasis, I guess to say.
Homework.
So I wanted you to let
Oh,
you
yeah,
know
good, thank you.
that we're working on, we've been working on
Cool.
putting some stricter, clearer
Clear, yeah.
policies in place. that we
Nice,
hope to
okay.
take care of.
Good, cool, good, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nason, and thank you, Ms. Hill, for all the work you've been doing
Yeah.
on facilities. Especially that BRIC campaign, making it a success. I know it's been a lot of work. Okay, and so we'll move on to the superintendent report.
Okay, so a couple of updates for you guys. Facilities update. So we are doing our building updates as we move through the summer. So we have a crew of people currently in Quinn. And they are almost done with the entryway all the way through 2 floors and the main floor. It's a really pretty, like a light silver color. And so that will be moving through the rest of the district. So we have a team of people. We did kind of an all call for anybody that wanted to jump in, for employees, or even employees' children that wanted to jump in. So we have a couple of employees' kids that have jumped in and that are doing hourly work. But they're just working kind of when they want to come and work, but they're planning it out. So the custodians are really excited about getting people in. Part of those involves other little things coming around the district. So maybe there's windows that need to be cleaned up. Maybe there's trim that needs to be done. Maybe it's deep cleaning that needs to happen in certain spaces. And so building 1 is moving along really well. And so Chad has a plan with his team that's going to get it all the way through all of the buildings for the summer. And then SJ is working on a full color graphic that will go in every lobby. And it'll be universal. So no matter what lobby you walk into, in that lobby is going to be kind of a simple graphic that says Rapoport, and it has core values, and it just makes sure that it's recognizable no matter what building you go in. And then our landscaping company that we use kind of for the district, Chad is already working with them to get them on tap to come and do like an external greens ground update before we come back in August. And so I don't want to do it right now because it'll just be overgrown by the time we get back to August. So they're still doing their regular stuff, but there's quite a few things that are like dead trees at Llewellyn that need to be taken care of. There's variety over at this building that's kind of grown up where it's not really maybe safe. People can hide behind that. And so we're going to go through and do like a safety related and a beautification part of the grounds a little bit later in the summer. So that's coming along really, really well. Gym updates, we have a couple of things. We have, oh, you can see him walking around in there. See if I can get pulled. So we have cameras in over the gym. That's the visitors bleachers that you're looking at right there from that side. I don't have the still shot on my phone, on my email, but I've got it on my phone here. So that is the, I don't know if y'all can see it. The home side says RAPS in black. Can you see it over there?
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Is it going? You can pass it around. So anyway, it looks really good, but what they're working on right now, you can see is the paint. So they're working on the striping of it. You guys can pass it around that way. So they're working on the paint and the striping. So they're gonna basically get to working and just keep working until it's done, and then it'll be blocked off for 2 weeks to harden and seal. Yeah, in the seats. So they put black seats in the green seats. Just so when it's all collapsed up, it says wraps in it. It looks really, really good. So anyway, so we have cameras throughout the building. So security is in and working. It's been really nice to see it, like the floor installed, you know, and we can watch it, and they were working over the weekend and I could look and see, you know, what's happening over that. So that's really exciting. We have data is in there. The scoreboard is in there. It is crooked, and so it's 2 inches crooked. But it's enough that I can see it. But they said there's going to be a trim piece around it, and you won't be able to see it. But from the second floor, right? You can see it from the second floor, can't you? Go from the ground, it's not as noticeable. But when you go up to the second floor, you're like, that's crooked. So we're working with them on what that's going to look like. But it's up there and it's really big and it looks awesome. But the goals are in, volleyball systems are there. We've got the stuff for the offices, the weight room, Brian and his team, and Mr. Sample stuff got delivered when I was out of town, and they just And so we've got squat racks up and we've got free weights in and we've got more stuff that's getting delivered. And once that stuff is kind of unboxed and the boxes are out of the way, then we'll get the movers in to come and put all of the stuff that we got from Baylor in. The coaches are already working with the athletes to do summer workouts, and they're kind of blending between multiple spaces and outside. So we're excited to be able to get this board done so they can really actually use the space. So it's coming along really well. If you go over there today, you'll see that the landscapers have finally gotten activated on it. And so they're putting in the sprinkler system, which is a requirement for the space over there. And so it'll be ground cover. You can also see the metal fence. The poles for the metal fence are in. We did make a modification from the original design on the fence because it was supposed to go across the parking lot with a gate that went to the ramp. And as we all started looking at it, Eric, actually the foreman that's there, he said, I think we probably need to change this. He said, this doesn't make sense to me. And so they actually pitched a redesign that had the fence going down the sides and then including the front of the building. So there's a little gate on the Demaria side, but then it's actually open to the campus from this side. So we are secure as our students are using it. It's not open then to the rest of the world while the students are using it. And so really smart, I think change really wasn't any difference on funding for that. And so we're really excited about that change in fencing for that one. So anyway, after they do the sprinkler, then they do the dirt work, then they do the grounds cover, then they do the patio area with the bricks. Bricks are all delivered that we have at this point. The new color looks really good. It's just a contrast. It's not like dramatically different, but just enough of a difference. So there's an R that's in like a darker red. And then the actual cut bricks are going to be in a lighter, it's a lighter red, but it's not like a pink. But anyway, it's a sandy, almost like a sandy color. So it looks, I think it's going to look really good. So we're just keeping moving on all of that. We are still running, Brian and I are kind of chatting each week, running a 3-week lead before we do any ribbon cutting or grand opening. Yes.
On that, you know, when the first 12 date is.
Nope.
And are they doing for the
Yes. Yes. It's not ADA accessible to not have that patio in and do a grand opening. So the handrails in the back have to be installed, and the landscaping, meaning that patio part, has to be in, because I can't have, you know, that downlift and that uplift for that one. So we're running about 3-week lead time. And so each week, Brian and I are kind of getting together and saying, okay, what do we think? Are things going to be done? Are they going to be installed? Are we going to be ready to go? And so right now, we're not ready. 3 weeks from now, we don't feel like the floor is going to be ready and sealed and secured, or that everything else is going to be in place. So we'll talk again the first part of next week. So lots of really cool things going on with the gym. The important thing is that everything is on track to be fully utilizable, whatever. We can use it by the time that volleyball is ready to go. So there shouldn't be any problem with anything by the time they're ready to actually pick up their season, their preseason stuff. So that's exciting.
Is there gonna be a logo on the floor itself?
In the center of the floor, it's the Raps athletic logo. It's the R with the
With
bird.
the raven? Okay, good.
Yep. Yeah, that was a design that Brian actually worked with the flooring company to come. We had to go back and forth a little bit for the color green for the edging. It was a little bit of a lime green at first. And so instead we brought it back and it matches the walls. And so it's the green and the black and then white and gray striping. Yeah.
emergency lighting outside? Is it in space like streets?
So there is lighting, but it's a down light and it's against the building. And so it does meet the code requirement for light pollution. And so it shouldn't be a problem for the neighbors.
And that's,
We shouldn't have a problem allowing them to come in and use that. We may not have done the full ribbon cutting at that point, but we shouldn't have a problem. There's not another spot that we were able to do that orientation because multipurpose is booked. And there's not another spot on campus where we can house that many people. Okay, a couple other updates. So facilities committee knows But we have a new position that just got posted on Friday. So Katrina is stepping out. And she is headed off towards other things, but she's gonna flex and move until we have a replacement, for her. So that position got posted on Friday. She's really excited. We're all really sad. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
To somebody else, no, not mine.
Not us.
So that position's posted. So she actually already has found people and has told them to apply, which is really awesome. But that is up there if you want. If you know anybody that would be interested that has school funding experience, that would be amazing. Also, there are some other positions that are still posted up there. So we have still have some teaching positions that are up there, some office assistant spots. So just take a look at our website and pass it around. Please share it on your social media. You never know who's looking maybe with just one eye or just one ear. So share it around. Please help us get folks in to fill those positions. It's really important. We are, crazily enough, we are a quarter of the way through the summer, a little over a quarter of the way through the summer. And so we've got to fill those last couple of positions pretty quickly. Two more things for me, safety training. So just to keep you guys up and in the loop, we are doing, several of us are doing safety trainings with TEA and with the School Safety Center over the summer, just trying to brush up on some of the new legislation and some of the new requirements and regulations that are coming through. We are planning on doing a reunification training and a safety training for all of our staff in the fall. So if anybody happens to ask for that, for us, what that means is if there were ever an opportunity where we could not pick up or deliver kids from a campus. So for instance, if something were to happen here at this campus, then we would likely use the MacArthur campus. It's far enough away. It has an alternate exit that we could bring parents through if we needed to. Or we would use, depending on what's happening at this campus, we could use the convention center downtown. So we're going to talk about reunification. What does that look like? What's our roles and responsibilities? So all that will happen in August. And that goes in line with the deans of students conversations that they already have about seeing something, saying something, about drills, about safety reports, and about the standard response protocol, which is a common terms of language that are used across almost all school districts, really in the US, but definitely in Texas. And so those safety trainings will continue to happen with staff as we come into the first part of next year. Now, one of those things is I'm going to give you guys a crash course when we do our board trainings throughout next year, because in the case you're ever on a campus or walking through the campus, you also need to know what those words mean. And so you will have your own kind of crash course in school safety as we do the board trainings for next year. Then the last thing I talked about a little bit already, so funding updates. So the short answer is we're going to get new funding. The long answer is we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. We have a pretty decent idea of the categories of funding where we're going to get more safety money. We're going to get some charter schools facilities money. We're going to get some designated salary money. We're going to get some designated support teacher salary money, some designated support salary money. And then we also have some adjustments to the basic allotment. Now, what'll be interesting is after all of the rules happen, so the money's been given and the rules happen, and then we get the report out at the end of it. So what I think will be interesting is when it comes down to the report out, what the board actually has the ability to impact. Some of it is good because some of it's going to be restricted in ways that you already want it restricted anyway, right? Like this money has to go into the pockets of teachers. Well, we've already said we want to put money in the pockets of teachers. You're going to get this money has to go in the pockets of support staff, not including admin. Well, that's where you already want to put money in. So it's not good. A lot of it's not going to be contrary. Then the other is going to be designated in one area, but it might free up some space in others. There is likely going to be some that is called supplement, not supplant, meaning you cannot use that money. It has to be new activity. You can't use it to pay for existing activity. I think some of the school safety money is going to be that way. Not all of it, but I think some of that school safety money is going to be, this has to be for new things. You can't pay a person's salary who's already there. Yes.
Do you know if any of that funding targets cybersecurity initiatives?
So there is a cybersecurity annex and there are new requirements coming out. They haven't rolled out the specs for what that looks like, but cybersecurity drills, like technical drills, are part of the things that we know are going to come into requirements. So we're going to have to be able to document how we're tracking things. We can use some of that money for additional like monitoring tools or bullying prevention and safety things, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And earlier you said something about, I don't understand school fund.
Yeah.
But you said where monies come in that may free up something, let's say it's debt service, whatever,
Yes.
where it's freed up. Sorry. Is it possible as you go forward with the GEM project and the payments to bank that each year any freed up money is this prepaid also GEM debt? If I'm asking you,
Yeah, so I think that would be something that the board would look at when they're doing budgeting. I think the first thing would be is building up our fund reserves a little bit, our savings account, just a little bit from where we are. And so I think once you get to a comfortable spot, you don't need to continue building that up anymore. You need to use that money for other things. But we have used quite a bit of that as we've done the owner-supplied items, which we planned for that. Like we budgeted for that, we planned for that. That's what we intended for. But I think we're definitely going to want to look at what that looks like a little bit. But yes, I think there's all sorts of possibilities. I think the only way that it would make sense to me financially, and people from our finance committee can say that, is if you don't need that money for other things, then sure, pay off the loan early. But I think until we're at the point where we say, yeah, our salaries aren't competitive. Yeah. There's no prepayment penalty. So, to come back to you guys, so we actually expect maybe this week, but by next week, all the talk is that we should get the first round of rules coming from TEA on funding, which means as early as the July board meeting, which crazily enough, the school closes the week of July 4th week, so nobody will be around. But as early as that next board meeting, I could have in front of you, here's what this is going to look like. Here's the money we're going to get. It may come in pieces, right? Like it may be, here's the teacher salary piece, and then I don't have the other piece yet. But as early as the July meeting, I might be able to have some information to put back in front of you for what this added money looks like. So tonight, here in just a little bit, you've got an the essential operational budget approval, and that is requests to continue business as normal at the operational expense, including no added revenue, right? Like this is last year's, this year's, no added revenue, that we do need to be able to go ahead and make some plans and do some contracts and things like that. And so that's what's in front of you tonight. Now, understanding when added money comes in, you're coming back with an updated budget that we will have you redo it again. But we do need to be able to kind of get some things going. I can't wait on TEA to do just the basic operational. So that's what you have that. So my hope is that we'll get information. As soon as we get information, then I'll be bringing it to the board to talk about it. I would strongly encourage all of you guys to go look and to go follow legislation and go read it and go see what the assemblies are and gather your own information about what it looks like and ask me questions or ask Tyler or ask Jennifer. What does this mean or what would that look like? Or is this actually going to help out? Because I mean, when you look at it, one of the things that you brought up is hourly raises. Yes, that added money, that $45,000 for the whole district, can absolutely go towards that. But when you look at admin salaries, mid-level admin
There's
salaries,
nothing for that in
zero.
any of it. Yeah.
Yeah, zero, any admin, anything. Any of that is in any of those raises. So if we want to do anything for that, it would have to just come from that, like offset money from the other side.
Did they not also increase the TIA allotment, amount of the TIA allotments?
They did, and they added another level.
Yeah,
Mhm.
acknowledged, or is that right?
Yeah, it's like a $1,500 one, but yeah. So they added another level. Now, what they also didn't do was put in anything for general raises. So teachers in year 1 and 2 and 3, there's nothing in there for that.
Correct.
But after you complete year 3, after year 3, then there's 4,000. No, 3,000.
4,000.
4,000 after year 3. Then you get that one raise, then there's nothing for the next year, nothing for the next year. Then after you complete year 5, there's 8,000. And then there's nothing for any of the other years. And so it doesn't raise the whole salary scale. I mean, it does if you've already completed those years, but you just get those big jumps twice. And then it kind of stays at your level. So there's nothing built in to like incentivize year 10 teachers to stay, right? Because you already got your raise at the end of year 5. Which
they want to be an admin. Less.
Yeah, like some people may have to take an $18,000 pay cut or $20,000 or $25,000. So when I asked that question of a contact that I have that deals with some of the funding rules, the response was, well, yeah, because we want them to stay teachers. We don't want to incentivize them to go into administration. We want quality teachers to stay teachers, to not say, oh, if I need more money, I've got to go be an administrator. So how do I get people to go be administrators?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Mhm.
And does it lock salary for those positions, even if that person decides to go?
They would go on theirs.
They would follow.
So the new school salary. So for instance, if you're a 10-year teacher, like you've had 10 years, then you get Rapoport's 10-year pay. If you move to Waco IC, you get Waco IC's 10-year pay or 11-year pay.
But that raise would go with them because it's based on overall, it's not based on where you were at, like I worked here at Rapoport for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's your overall years of experience.
No matter where you were.
So once you get 5+, like I'm slightly over 5, but once you hit the 5+ range, my salary will increase by $8,000 this year, plus whatever TIA money I get, which they've increased that allotment for next year as well, I think, right? Haven't they increased the overall?
For teacher incentive?
Yeah, for teacher incentive, they've increased the allotment, but the top one's increased by about $4,000.
I'm saying, let's say you decide to retire next year, please don't. Maybe post job vacancy, that salary includes the money that's coming in. It stays here with the district.
It becomes part of our salary schedule. It becomes part of the salary schedule. Yeah. Now, if the new teacher comes in with 2 years of experience,
Then they go back down.
they go whatever our level 2 years of experience. Yep. But what it doesn't give us is, so say Chris is still teaching with us 5 years from now, which I sure hope he is, but say he's still with us 5 years from
That'd be
now,
4 years.
he's already gotten his raise. So there's no additional raises built into the funding for that. It's not like there's a $2,000 raise every year built into that. It's, you get it that one time after year 3 and one time after year 5, and then that's it.
That's absolutely.
Just wait. That
I
was my lengthy update. There's a lot of.
have a question.
Yep.
On the gym, I know that's a fairly large facility. How are we gonna cover it with that as far as like, not maintenance, but like janitorial?
We have a position that's part of the
Okay,
budget.
good.
in that.
Good.
So we've already budgeted for there to be a position that would cover that. Now that position is likely gonna flex through.
Yeah,
So they may not be here at 6 in the morning, because there's gonna be evening events. Now, there's no way one person can cover all evening events.
right.
So we'll flex with other staff that wanna work, or if we end up needing to do a temporary for a special event or things like that.
Okay, good.
Somebody else can do
Good.
it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a really helpful report.
Yeah, good
Okay,
question.
let's shift to enrollment reports.
So the enrollment reports, withdrawal report were in your drive. Just if you have any questions, let me know. You can see we've got a pretty healthy waiting list. For next year, we're currently sitting at 910 students enrolled for next year, and that's not with pre-K fully enrolled yet. So they're still working on the pre-K enrollment documents to get them on board. So we're looking like we're starting out pretty good next year.
Awesome. Okay.
Helping you in the transition.
So she's gonna bridge the gap until we get a new person in. Now, mind you, she has already set up Region 12 to help us out a lot on the backside of things. And then she's not leaving us hanging. So she's gonna help bridge the gap and make sure that we're still good. But we are going to move as quickly as possible in finding a replacement, not rushing, finding the right person, but moving as quickly as possible because she has other things she's ready for.
And we're so happy for you, and we are so grateful for your integrity, your consistency, the professionalism, everything you've done for this district. So thank you. We are
Sure.
hope.
I did start speaking to her today again.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah. That's great. Okay, so the next one on there is the election of new board members. The board can choose however they would like to do this. I did put slate on there. The faculty rep and the parent rep were identified using the pre-approved board process, which is an all call. And if more than one person steps up, then we do an information meeting, answer their questions. If more than one person is still in there, then we randomly draw. So on the parent representative, we had 2 people that stayed in. We had 4 people that inquired. One person was recommended by somebody else and they said, oh, that's really sweet, but no. And then 3 people actually asked questions. And so we ended up with 2 people that were very interested. One had served as the parent rep before. And so when we did name draws, it was actually Miss Oliveira that was selected, and the 2 random names that went into the hat. So she has agreed to jump in, and I think she'll be a great parent representative. She'll be here at the next meeting. And then the faculty representative, Alex Howard, has said yes, she would be happy to do it. So I'm really excited to have Alex on board for that one. And then I think you checked with both Neil and, oh, right, it says Gracie. I'm not sure.
Oh, I didn't even notice
that. Anyway, so I believe you checked with both of them, even though their terms are technically up. They have both said that they would be willing to stay on, right? You would be.
Yeah, sure.
So the board can choose to do it individual approvals, or you can choose to just approve the slate with a single vote.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Put your hand down.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Happy to have you. Yes.
Absolutely not.
I was teasing poor Alex is gonna have to start her reports with, and Chris Mason sent me an email.
Just show up for public comment.
Yeah.
Filibuster.
I mean, we could appoint Chris Mason as faculty rep emeritus.
You cannot. I'm through.
Well, he is still keeping. He is still keeping the history wall and the teacher.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Dr. Newman for this next item to, I just wanted to make a statement, acknowledge Rapoport's unique process for adopting curriculum, and specifically Ms. Whitlark and all that you've done. I know we've heard that other districts are traversing this issue as well. And because you did such a painstaking process of eliciting comment and being so careful and examining those materials, I felt like it was done in a very transparent way. I'm speaking on behalf of the board, done with a great deal of transparency, and it's why it seems to be some acceptance once that decision was made. So I wanted to get that on the record and acknowledge that whole process. I know it was a lot.
Yeah.
We're excited. We already have an update on the history wall.
I just put that was provided in the faculty report, if that's okay.
Excellent. And we'll move to item 5.3, Region 12 strategic planning.
So part of y'all's homework from the last meeting was to look through that Region 12 document with their proposal for strategic planning / board training combo package for next year. So just a reminder, the strategic plan, the current one that we have, is up at the end of next summer. So you would need to be engaging in that process next year. There's quite a bit in that is done, check, like it's really good. It was really exciting as I walked through that with them to see how much we've actually done during that strategic plan timeframe. And then we also have board training that we have to do every year. And so my request to them was, can we twofold it? Can we combine it in with board meetings so we don't have separate meetings? Now, if the board would like to have 2 meetings a month, one for board meeting, one for strategic plan, we can. But the thought for this would be is locking in and committing, compressing our regular board meeting to what we need to do, really honoring the consent agenda, honoring being prepared for meetings ahead of time, asking questions ahead of time, that sort of stuff. Then taking a brief break and moving into strategic planning or board training. So it's essentially each meeting for the fall. August, September, October, November, you can see it into December and then January, so that by February, we have a new strategic plan, which allows us to then do budgeting with the new strategic plan guidelines. Now, that's for a 3-year plan, which would then match the ending date of the academic strategic plan that you guys have already approved. So the thought is that using the effective district framework, which is what guided us through that academic strategic plan work and the TSL work that Region 12 is going to present on, the thought is that if you do a new strategic plan to cover the areas that aren't covered under the academic plan, then you have a whole plan that would cover all of the framework and really help us guide us through the next 3 years, at which point, hopefully, we would be reworking academics, facilities, like all the different components anyway. So that's a combo plan for board training and strategic planning so that the strategic plan is done by February.
On the board combo meeting, it would be a lot of hours. Training.
So my hope would be the whole night would be 3 hours or less. So
Wow.
5 to 8. And I would, if the board decides to go to that, I would definitely suggest that we bring in a meal so we can work straight through, eat while we go, like keep it really efficient. On the strategic planning side of it, there's other people that will join us besides just board. So there's some nights that are just board training, and then there's some nights that are committee work. And so even during that, the board would break up into committees. We would have other people. So parent rep would bring in a couple of other people, faculty rep would bring in a couple of other people. We would bring in some other administrators and things like that. And the committee work would be more than just the board as we move through that part of it. So some nights would be board training, it'd be board. Some nights would be committee work, and it would be committee. But that would be my hope, is that we try to keep consent agenda really heavy. I'd shift to written reports that are provided ahead of time so that those are provided to you, and it's only if you have questions from those that would come to the meetings. And then it's just really if there's like specific presentations or questions that we would do for that period of time.
So we're looking at, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And so these states on here, 3 hours essentially for each, or for each Tuesday evening, whether it's
Yes.
meeting and other.
Uh-huh.
And then a couple of kind of additional work days, so 1 to 2 hour, and then a 3 to 4 hour that would be on a day other than a Tuesday.
Yes,
Correct?
and I think those, I'm not, let's see. Let me,
I'm looking at proposal strategic planning.
yeah, let me just.
25 Tuesday.
Yes. That one is the one you're looking at, correct?
Yeah, so looking at the late November, early December, 1 to 2 hour work day, and then the January 3 to 4 hour.
So the January one, if you look at that, it's just the initiative leaders. So it's not the whole board.
Okay.
Oh.
And so that would be as the board walks through the initiative. So for instance, we've had the teacher incentive allotment initiative, which is Angie Cotton's the lead. We've had the Pathway to Champion, which is our professional development rework, which Tyler Ellis is the lead. We've had our student engagement, which Jennifer Whitlock is the lead. So that is just those initiative leads that would meet on that day. Then the thought on the 6th, the late November, early December, is it would be a lot to have all of these people try to actually write a draft. So the board would identify a smaller group of people that would actually write the draft and bring it back to the board. That's that day. It's like a writing day.
So the time commitment really is not much different. We're just kind of ourselves determining we're gonna be more efficient here and use the rest of the time for this.
Yeah, we try to keep our meetings 1 to 2 hours already. And so it would be committing to probably 3 hours once a month. Like having to be here, because if you're not here, your voice isn't here, right? So being here. And that would meet your training requirement. You wouldn't have anything else to do. It would meet training requirements. We do strategic plan. It would all be locked in. We bring in food, committee days. We bring in extra food for the committee members that are coming in. So They had never done a combo like this. Region 12 is really excited about creating a model like this. So they're excited about partnering with us. I'm excited about what it would look like. Based on the amount of work they're gonna do with us, they'll come and facilitate every one of them. So based on that work, I don't feel like the cost is exorbitant, and I feel like the work that they've done with us with the strategic learning, and the way that we process through that. Now, board training was right around $5,000 to $6,000. So even if you just look at that, it's roughly $8,000 or so, considering the amount of work that they're doing. I strongly suggest that the board look at doing this. If not, we can do it in other ways, but we'd have to go back to do another like board training, like a Saturday workshop for board training, or we'd have to look at secondary meetings for strategic planning.
Non-standard.
All of them would be every third Tuesday. The only ones that are not, right, but November is only just gonna be the couple of people that the board says, yeah, go write a draft and bring it back to me. So that's just a 2 to 3 people that would go and help write a draft and then bring it back to the board for the board to review, instead of having 20 people try to write it. And then after the board identifies the initiatives, the way that the strategic leadership learning, the strategic leadership program works is once you identify a task or an initiative, you name a lead. That person then drives that as we move forward. And so that's what that last one is, that January one. Those initiative leads then go meet. And basically what they do is they say, okay, this is what the board wants. All right, how am I gonna make it happen? And I write a plan, and I write dates, and I write timeframes, and I write all that stuff, and then I bring it back to the board.
Okay, so board, for us to pull this off, it means that you've got to block these time, like, you know, when you're planning your life, that you're protecting these board meetings in the fall. And that whether it's a calendar invite, blocking time so that you show up prepared. It's the only way this will work. So that you're not having to introduce the material during that regular meeting. She's gonna approach regular board with the assumption that we've all done our homework. So we're just kind of making that, and just saying that out loud so we can commit to that, because that's the only way this will work.
This one, it's an expenditure request.
How's the budget? How's
So
our
part of this
funding?
would come from this year's budget, and part of it would come from next year's budget. And so through salary savings or sweat funds, we have enough money for what's in this year's budget. And then for what's in next year's budget, it's in the budget request that we have for you guys. So I kind of held it in there just in case. Yeah, held it in there just in case. But since it starts this fiscal year, there's two parts of it that would happen in this year's budget.
Sorry,
You had
I
a-
just want to.
Good question. Yeah, strategic planning. For our board.
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Excellent. Okay, so that first one is in August, correct?
July.
July, okay.
Yeah.
Do this.
But the driver.
Yeah.
See, I don't think I just lectured y'all on that. I'm like.
No, it starts in July. And that really is, again, it's an essentials training. So it's like new board members, right, will be on board. And so that's where we'll start off with board training, what your responsibility is, how to stay in your lane, what your lane look like. So that's really heavy on board training. We don't get into the committee work. You can see in August, we start identifying steering committees and who we want on there. And then it's not until September that we start committee work for that.
Excellent. So our next item, there was a 12-page operational expenses projected for the next year. So hopefully y'all had a chance to look at those line by line, or very detailed level. So this is a item that we need to vote on, unless you have any questions.
So one of the things that I did, just really quick, I've got it here on the screen, hopefully. There was a summary sheet that was on there. I just want to really call out this bottom part.
Yeah. I was
Okay,
trying to
so
understand.
I just want to call it. So we gave them to you with. Here's doing good stuff. Okay, so I gave them to you with all the different like departments on the top if you wanted to see all that and what was over or under and kind of offsets for one year to the other. But what I really want you to pay attention to is right down here at the bottom. So the operational expenses, the salaries, the total expected expenses there. So your approved revenue expense salary total was 11,600,000. That's what you already approved. And so right now we're actually under budget about 120,000. And that is because we know that there's some additional salaries and raises and things like that. And so basically what our campuses have done is they said they've submitted flat budgets, pretty much across the board. Chris Brownlee, he's not here anymore. He was able to go through on the IT side. Do you guys remember the leasing, the public leasing thing that you approved? So between that and some other combining of contracts, he was able to save quite a bit of money, $40,000, $50,000 for that. And so that's where part of that comes from. But basically what everybody submitted was flat. And we said, we're coming back to the board when we get added revenue. But right now, we're not coming with any added revenue. So that's what you have in front of you is just flat from one year to the other one. So because we have some things we need to go ahead and make plans for, we decided to go ahead and bring you this flat budget, understanding we are coming with additional requested expenses. It's things like one of the things that's really important for leaders, anybody in a leadership role, whether it's coaches, leaders, even instructional coaches, is their own professional development. And we pretty much took all that out this last year, no travel, unless it was provided by independent grant funds. And so some of those things, like people would really like to be able to fill their own professional cup. And so those will be things we put back in the budget if and when funding comes, and we would bring it back to you guys for additional approval from that one. But tonight, what is in front of you is essentially a flat budget, prior year to this year, no additional positions or anything than what you've already approved, or salaries or anything else, no raises besides what you've already approved. And then understanding that we're coming back to you when we get legislative direction.
Just one question about being under when the funding comes in from the state.
Mhm.
The restricted funding goes where it's supposed to. How do you make up the difference for where you're under on budget?
No. So we are to the good.
Oh,
We're-
okay.
yeah.
Never mind, scratch mine.
Yeah. So you guys approved 11.6, and this request is for 11.4. So that is to the good. To the good, 120,000, because we anticipate needing to have funds to do the other stuff that the state isn't funding. It's going to be restricted in other ways. So right now, my request is for that basic operational expenses that have been submitted by the campuses, which is again, flat one year to the next.
Move to approve the proposed expenditures.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And if you ever have any questions about the itemized things, we're happy to answer any of those ever. What is this? What is that company? What is that program? I would encourage you to talk to Chris Brownlee some about the new cybersecurity stuff that he's working on.
Okay.
And the new programs that he's bringing in, and cost savings, yes, but also way more that teachers can do with it. So I'm really excited about the stuff he's bringing.
Okay, and I don't think I received any major changes. We have to populate the superintendent evaluation tool.
So we're just getting the data back from the state. So I'll update that as soon as we get the data back, because the data in the student performance needs to be from this last year. Okay. So we're building correctly from the year.
So that'll be the working copy, but I guess we need to wait for a vote for July.
You actually don't have to vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
You just have to agree on it and provide it to me.
Board, if you recall, I didn't know that exactly, I wasn't confident about which numbers to plug in for the academic benchmarks. And so she's waiting on that data to come back, and she's gonna fill those in.
And Region 12 suggestion was actually, since you guys already have the academic strategic plan that has annual goal sets on it, is that you use those as the markers, which is 3rd grade, 8th grade, and CCMR. So that was their suggestion, but that'd be something you guys can consider.
Okay, so we'll move forward with that instrument. And then I will send a reminder with the link to the board self-evaluation. So we will, so that will be y'all's homework, but I will send y'all a reminder for that. I know, but we just talked about it in May, so.
It's not filled out.
We didn't complete it.
the self-evaluation, we talked about it in May. It was on the agenda, but I did not send out a reminder. I did not tell y'all last month that, oh, you need to do that this month, so it's not completed. I got confused because we bumped it from April, if you recall.
Yeah.
So,
On us, it's 12, because it was on the agenda.
oh, well, but. Okay, so next we're going to move into closed session to take a look at the school safety audit.
So the school safety audit is provided in closed session, obviously for safety reasons. And so what this means is everybody would move out. There are no other agenda items besides that one. And it would just be a receive and file should the board decide to receive and file from that at the other end. So I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.
Second, let me open the door again. Back there.
Someone's name in the courthouse, it's like no shirt.
Okay, 6:46.
Back in open meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I make the motion that we
Receive
and file the safety audit report.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for your hard work on that. And if there are no other agenda items, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in
Wait,
favor?
who's my second? I'm going to say it at the same time. We're going to break.
And any opposed? Motion passes. Thank
Good
you all.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, good. It was,
That's very productive and fun.
Mhm.
yeah.
No, we'll take all. I chose 6:47. Is that right?